Okay, the needle's on the record, cue up the beat, we can start the show.
What's up, music lovers, nerds, DJs, diggers, creators, samplers, producers, dancers, people who generally love music, YouTubers, the world, the globe. Welcome. This is my top 5 digs of the week. My name is DJ GhostNotes. Let's get into it. I need a drink. Okay, so this week, it's been a pretty productive week. Got a ton of cool stuff to talk about. Music's amazing because you can never stop finding stuff. There's just so much music out there, and there's so much amazing music out there, and if it means something to you, then you know that's what it's about. Okay, cool. Let's start off with record number 1, and I was pretty excited by this record. As soon as I spotted this, I was just like, whoa, I gotta check this out. DJ Regal from the UK on his record label Lexington 144. And it sounds cool, it looks cool, I love the cover. New York, 1972, inspired by, you know, the sounds of New York in the 70s. So the first thing that drew me to this record was obviously the artwork and, you know, the idea, the concept behind it. You know, 1970s New York, and the inside sleeve, this is a gatefold record. The inside's got some really dope pictures and images on it, and a real 70s flair. It's cool. From the artwork to the music, it's just a killer LP. DJ Regal, if you are not familiar with Regal, he's from the Wise Guys. He's also from the Bronx Dogs. So a few years ago, he released a record that was inspired by Vaughn Bodes, the cartoonist and graffiti artist from the 70s and late 60s, 70s, 80s. A record called Stripped Universe, which was a really dope record. It was just cool, really nice, funky instrumental beats. So this album is sort of like a follow-on from that, New York 72. It's a dope album, from, you know, fast kind of b-boy tunes to really kind of low-key, nice instrumental hip-hop beats, the sort of record that you put on, and if you're a scratch DJ, you just want to do cuts over the top of it. Kind of reminds me, particularly this song sort of reminds me of introducing DJ Shadow's album, and it's got that real kind of soundscape, melodic sound. It's really flowing and cool and funky, and yeah, it's just a dope record. You can put this on and just, you know, pour yourself a drink and sit back and listen to the whole album from start to finish. Even the little sound effects, he's got spray cans and trains going on in the background. I just thought the whole thing was cool. It sets a mood and it sets a feeling, and you really do feel like you're downtown New York. So the track that I've chosen of this one is Ballad of Barbara and Eva 62. Goes for about 4 minutes. It's a cool tune. Let's check it out. You can download this on Bandcamp if you don't want to buy the vinyl. Definitely worth getting onto and having a listen. Okay, so record number 2. This is cool. I was actually in Northside Records today. I heard them playing a record, and I ran up and asked Chris, "What is this? What do you got playing?" And it was, interestingly enough, it was their own label. So the Northside Record label, which produces a few albums, some really cool stuff, and it's worth checking those guys out as well. Obviously, they're on Bandcamp, where you can check out their Instagram or their website. This was a really interesting track. It was originally recorded in Sydney in 1979 by a Japanese jazz group, which were unknown. And I don't know if they've discovered exactly who these musicians were, but they might still be unknown today. So Japanese jazz musicians, they teed up with a lady called Claudia, who is a vocalist. She was just a session vocalist from Mauritius, and they put together this, I guess, an LP. There's 4 songs on this record. It's got a really funky vibe. It's kind of It's described as sounding a bit like the electric Miles Davis sounding records, and it is. It's disco-y kind of funk, jazzy stuff. This was re-released in 2017, and it sounds like it was recorded yesterday. It's absolutely beautiful. The fact that it was recorded in Sydney, the fact that it's unknown Japanese jazz musicians, and Claudia, who's a session vocalist that just came together and recorded this album. I was really curious about it, and you know, there's only so much research you can kind of do on this stuff. So it's Harishi and Claudia. The record is called 6 to 6. Yeah, so the song that I'm going to play is a version of 6 to 6. Let's check it out. Cool. That's a really beautiful record. So, and shout outs to Chris from Northside for introducing me to that. It's just a cool record. I'm sure they've still got copies of it down there. Amazing record to have. So track number 3 is an artist called Devin Russell, and this is an album of tracks that are covers of Curtis Mayfield songs. The album's called Darker Than Blue. It's a compilation of Curtis Mayfield's records, and it was sort of pieced together from recordings over the few years. The first recordings go back as far as 1979, and the album features artists like Sly Dunbar, Earl Lindo, Leroy Wallace, Dean Fraser, Bobby Ellis. This album was recorded with King Tubby's band, the Firehouse Band, and I believe some of it was recorded in King Tubby's studios. The original person behind this was Earl Smith from the Wailers, and he came up with the idea to record covers of Curtis Mayfield songs as they were really popular in Jamaica and in the UK around that time. So in the mid-80s, they decided to start recording some of these records. Devin Russell was one of the engineers as well, and he was the singer performing a lot of these songs. It's just a killer record. From what I can see, it's a reissue. According to Bandcamp, they're only releasing 333 copies of this album, being on the label 333. I knew the version of Move On Up because that was recently released on the Mukatsuku label out of the UK. And that was a 7-inch record, double-sided. It's got Move On Up on one side and Give Me Your Love on the B side. So I was made aware of Devin Russell, but didn't realise that he'd released a whole LP at one point. It was really cool to discover this one. Tons of cool records on this album, and it was kind of tricky to pick which one to play, but I've decided to go with the cover song Darker Than Blue, and I just love that reggae disco sound with that drum in it. It's really familiar disco sounding drum. So let's check that out. This is Darker Than Blue, Devin Russell.
Tell
Okay, cool. So track number 4, and this was a fun discovery as well. I was in a record store and searching through the records, and I spotted a really fun looking cover. Anytime I see anything as like a James Brown cover, I might, it piques my interest, and I'm always curious to see what it is because, James Brown, as we know, well, most of his tracks are really funky. So if anyone's doing a cover, has to do it pretty well, and it's usually quite funky. So,
fellas, I'm ready to get up and do my thing.
Recently, I did a top 5 about Sex Machine, which was a Brazilian band that had covered it. I was really glad to find another copy of Sex Machine, and this is by Cousin Brown, whose name is actually Bernard Lavalier, and this was released in France in 1988. It's a pretty funky cover. It's a funky version. It's a French version. He's singing in French. I thought Cousin Brown was a really funny name. Straight away I was interested. It's a cool 7. I recently discovered that Mr. Bongo re-released this after many years of the record being unavailable, and that was because Bernard thought that the lyrics were too provocative at the time, so they just shelved it up until recently. So it's out, it's available. I think you can still get it on Mr. Bongo's from their website. I'm sure you can get it on their label unless they've sold out. But yeah, just a funky version, and it's worth checking out. Let's have a listen.
Elle était noire, pas tout à fait. Elle était bleue dans les reflets de laser fou qui la suivait. Et la nuit blanche, ou à peu près. Un sex machine. Un sex machine. C'est pour le sexe, pas pour l'amour. Pour le plaisir et pour l'humour. Dans mon dessin triangulaire, dans ma vision, il y avait la paire. Un sex machine. Un sex machine. Un sex machine.
Okay, cool. So track number 5. This is a record by Donna Allen, and the album's called Perfect Timing. This was a $5 record. It was in the $5 bin, and I recently discovered a whole pile of $5 boogie records.
It looked like somebody had donated the records. Maybe they passed away. Rest in peace if you did. You had a great collection. But yeah, there was just a ton of these $5 boogie records, and I went through them. I recognised quite a few of the artists. There was Starpoint, Levert, and Atlantic Star. There was a whole bunch of kind of well-known boogie artists.
And I found Donna Allen, and I hadn't really heard of Donna Allen, so I did a quick bit of research on my phone while I was in the store, and I discovered that that Donna Allen was a former cheerleader for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I believe, and she had done vocals for quite a few groups. She worked with High Octane, Trauma, and Max, which is MAXXX, sort of disco boogie, R&B kind of soul groups, and released this album. What caught my attention was on the back of the album, one of the backup vocalists was Betty Wright, and I thought that was interesting. So had a quick listen to some of the songs, and I soon discovered that the first song on side 1, Serious, had been sampled, and the song that had sampled that was Strike You Sure Do back in 1994. Let's have a quick listen to that. You sure make me feel like loving you. Yeah, so really catchy tune. I remember raving to that track back in the day and having no idea that it was a cover at all. So rediscovering it recently was just, a bit of a mind blow. So that was pretty cool. For a $5 record, I thought that was quite funky, and I decided to throw it in my top 5 this week. So let's check it out. This is Donna Allen, Perfect Timing, and the track is called Serious, and this is from 1986.
Don't tell me your heart belongs to someone else. Just can't be killing myself. No, you got me going round and round. Honey, you. You sure make me feel like loving you. You sure do. Come on, baby. Talk about serious.
Dope. So that's my top 5 this week, guys. Thanks so much for everyone listening. Thanks for the feedback. Please let me know if you're watching the show. It sometimes feels like I'm just doing this. No one's really paying any attention. So it's always nice to get your feedback, good or bad. If I've stuffed up something or said the wrong thing, I'm more than happy to be corrected. I'm still learning a lot of this stuff, and I've been DJing for many, many years and collecting records for many years, but you're always learning, you're always discovering, and that's the cool thing about it. So, once again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace.